suppose, and I think the internet is a little crazy, so we'll see how well this works. One of my most recent games that I worked on is called Beat Planet Madness. It's never been released, so you're one of few people to have seen this. But the idea was a musical space shooter wrapped around a star. So I like games with audio. So this is a space shooter game. Oh, there's a video. Well, I don't know if I'll be able to show any of these videos because the internet, I don't know, it's maybe not fast.
On the Wi-Fi?
Yes, I am on the Wi-Fi. And how do you Mac? How do you? Okay, there you go. So maybe a trailer will get started in the background while I talk. But yeah, basically.
If anyone's on the internet, you just log off for a second. So if you could show us videos, or just turn off your Wi-Fi for a second.
Be nice. I'll do the same.
There's also a 5G and non-5G.
Oh, okay. So the idea is that little space shooter wrapped around a planet, and the planet itself it's kind of like this musical pulsating thing, vibrates with the music. Enemies spawn in with the audio, and you have like beat-based actions, the shots and stuff like that. It's this crazy was one of the first bosses in the game. One of the first things I made is this audio visualizer plugin, which just takes any audio, and then you can create some of these visual effects that you'll see in this game and some of the other ones. So if anyone's interested on that, it's in the Unity Asset Store. I found getting started as an indie, it's pretty tough to compete in that industry. You know, you might spend 2 or 3 years making a game, living in your grandma's basement, doing whatever you can to get by and make a game, and then you release it and maybe 10 people download it. You know, that was the case for me. Anyways, I spent a couple years on a game. I had no idea what I was doing. I released it and like, oh yeah, I'm going to get so many downloads tomorrow. No marketing, I didn't tell anyone about it. You know, it's just whatever. You just hit the submit button, right? And so I found that the asset store is a pretty interesting way to build tools for yourself as you're making these games, and then release those on the asset store to help bring in some revenue to supplement your income. So if anyone wants to ask me about the asset store, doing that, I think that's a good way to go. So here's the audio visualizer plugin. That's just one of the effects it can do. Basically, you can just read in the data, and then I had fun just making a bunch of sample scenes of like, hey, what can we do with audio? I also wrote a vector field plugin in Unity. You could generate vector fields and then control particle positions over time. Sorry for the resolution. And this is a little plugin that read in mesh data and then overlays particle effects on top of the vertices or the edges in a mesh. So you could just have a character, an animated character, and then emit like fire particles at every vertex of the character and make it look like he's on fire. Unity does this by default now. I think like a year after I released this plugin or something, they integrated some of the features into their particle systems. Oh yeah, I also made a procedural spaceship generator. So for one of my games, I'm not really an artist, but I decided to do some programming art. I always make games with spaceships because it doesn't require any like animation. You don't have a character that has to move, go through all these different things. You just have like a static object that you have to just move around. But I wanted to be able to make unique looking ships and not have an artist make them for me. So I've gone through a bunch of different iterations on procedural spaceship generators. Some previous iterations took like a bunch of pieces. You would maybe make like engines and hulls and wings and guns and whatever, and then kind of like build some system that randomly like slaps them together in interesting ways. And that was okay, but it led to just some really weird, quirky results. So in the end, I came up with this solution where you use splines to kind of make a rough outline of the spaceship you want, and then you can just auto-generate shapes inside of that spline. So it works for these simple, like Galaga-looking spaceships anyways. Yeah, thanks. We'll see if this next one that's going to load. This is the first game I think I ever made. I made it while I was an intern coming out of college. You know, I had another side job and I wanted to make a first mobile game, so I thought, what's the simplest thing I could do? Here it goes. So this is, I like audio and gaming, so this is an audio-based game. You can pick a song off of your phone, load in the soundtrack, and then it will generate one of these orbs every time, like a beat is detected. It says beat detection, and generates these. So you're basically the controls. You're using your finger to like swipe around this center block of all the orbs that have stuck together, and then trying to match 3. So this game, for example, I think took me about a year to make the first time, but then now after you've been in the industry for a long time, like you can make this again in like a day or two, you know, a couple days, like at least a prototype of it. But it was definitely very interesting to me to just go through that full process. Like you think, okay, this super simple game, something like Flappy Bird, you know, something like that. You're like, yeah, I can crank that out in a day, and that's true. You can get an MVP in a day. But what you find is that there's a million bugs. You got to make UI menus for everything. Like there's got to, they definitely say the last 10% is like 90% of the work, and it's definitely true. Like you can get something really quick and fun early, but then to actually release the content takes just so much effort. Screenshots, videos, trailers, so much stuff. But anyways, if you want to check out some more of these videos, any of my stuff, you can just check out doggydoggames.com. And if you want to talk Magic Leap stuff, most of the work I do there is related to gestures. I'm on a rapid prototyping team, so every couple weeks I have a new project and just iterating really quickly in AR experiences and interactions with a heavy emphasis on gestures. But that's it.
I know you moved here like fairly recently from Albuquerque, and you're very involved in the Unity scene out there. So, can you explain like what Albuquerque was like and how you got here and how you like South Florida?
Totally. I will quickly plug Albuquerque Game Developers Association.
That's actually
That's a great thing about having a Unity user group, right? So we have the professional courtesy. He was very involved in that community out in Albuquerque. So, yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, it was really nice to meet Praveen. I was one of the founding members in Albuquerque, this Game Developer Association. And that was something that actually really helped me get started in the industry. You know, your connections go a long way, and also just meeting other people, you're going to learn a lot of things. You know, these meetups really helped push me to keep making content, keep learning from other people. You know, you show your content in front of someone else, and they'll pick it apart or have new ideas, and that's really definitely helped me, you know, come a long way.
Hey, so I'm curious about your rhythm game plugin.
Yeah.
When it looks at the music track, is it looking at tempo? Is it looking at bass? Is there something that's in an actual music track?
Yeah. The basic algorithm is that, you know, it gets the fast Fourier transform of the audio. What you get at the end of that is just like an array of float values from 0 to 1. So you get like the audio spectrum. If you're looking at like any kind of music visualizer where you see like a bunch of bars going up and down, you kind of get that. That's your data set. So my algorithm just basically takes a bunch of frames, previous frames, and compares the current frame to the previous frames to see if the current frame is like a significant amount higher than X number of previous frames in relation to, you know, and it also tries to detect like the BPM of a song and then kind of match things up with that. And you can split the audio into different frequencies, you know, like bass, high, low, whatever, and detect beats in different frequencies. Did that answer your question?
So this is the birthday party for Magic Leap. So what can you talk to us about, like, you know, not about what's coming up, but the last year, you've been there the whole year. So happy birthday.
Yeah.
And also a second follow-up is, like, what advice do you have for aspiring game developers in the audience for as far as career advice?
So for the first part, you know, I joined Magic Leap at a pretty interesting time. It was right before, it was maybe 3-4 months before ML1 launched. Actually, I think I've been there a year and a half, so it must have been 6 months before the launch. So, before the launch, the company was just focused on making this device. The first device was like about the size of a refrigerator. You put your head in it and see like a dot, I think, and now we have this tiny little thing. You can see all this content. It's pretty amazing. So, I guess your first question about my year at Magic Leap, I don't know, I'm learning a lot and growing a lot. And I think the company's learning a lot and growing a lot too. It's a really scrappy young company, which is good coming into it because you can kind of assume whatever role you want. If you see a problem, like, okay, go fix it. It's like it's up to you to get in there and make it. And what I can say for people getting into the industry, I think for me it was portfolio and meeting other people in the industry. When I was first trying to get a job right out of college, I went to maybe for about 6 months, was flying all over the country, couldn't get a job anywhere. So then I just decided, okay, I'll make my own company, do my own thing, and I built my portfolio up. And actually I had a business card for Magic Leap on my desk for like 2 years. I applied to the job the first time and didn't get in the first time, and just kept that business card on my desk for 2 years, and like, I gotta work there, and finally did apply 2 years later. And it was because I had built up a portfolio, and actually when I went to the interview, I showed up with that Beat Planet Madness game and just put it on, in VR, like, hey, look, I made this, try it out. And I think that went a long way for helping getting the job, and then also that tailors your interview questions into like the context of something you have really good understanding about. So everyone's going to ask your questions and tailor them to your work. And then the second part was just connections. When I was applying, I actually asked a friend to look over my resume, and he's like, oh, I know somebody who works at Magic Leap. And I wouldn't have had that connection if it wasn't for Albuquerque Game Developers Guild. So I think this community is super important, and meet as many people as you can and keep making cool stuff.
It's cool. So any questions for Kurt? This is your chance. I mean,
You can come talk to me later too.
All right, Ian, Mr. Unity.
How long did it take you to make a respectable portfolio?
Years, a couple years. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, getting started, like your first Unity project is probably going to suck. Your second Unity project's probably going to suck. Your 10th Unity project's probably still going to suck, So you basically just have to make as many projects as you can with as many different people as you can, and eventually you get better over time. And like, I'd also, encourage people to try and release content publicly, whether that's on an app store, or there's also a lot of like other websites like Game Jolt, things like that, where you can share kind of some more rough content. Doesn't necessarily have to be finished, but setting some goals to actually, whatever you're doing, music, audio, film, whatever, just releasing it, getting other, getting it out there, getting people's names on it.
It's cool. Work right here.
How were you making money while you were sucking?
Oh, I had another job. Yeah.
Doing what?
Programming.
Oh,
Yeah. Out of college, I got a job at Sandia National Labs. It's like a government DOE facility, so I was doing programming for them. But
Stand back here so we don't get the feedback. There's sodas in the cooler, so you guys we're out of pizza. There's candy and healthy food, so.
yeah, my approach was to basically have a day job, but then slowly wean myself off the day job with as being an indie developer. That was the dream. So
Still programming.
Still programming, finding something at least close so I could build my skills, and then at the same time, just having a side hustle, constantly working on it. And then I slowly started tailoring back my day job hours, to where I was working 3 days a week at the day job, and then 4 days a week on